They're going after the man's livelihood now. It's that time again, friends. It's Sunday night, and we gotta talk about the newest episode of The Chair Company, episode 4. As always, I'm talking off the cuff, full spoilers, so if you're not watching The Chair Company, get on it. Or if you're not caught up, maybe leave a like, come back, and then we can dive into everything that goes on in episode 4. And we got to talk about Bald Harmon, but we'll get to that. Interestingly enough, this episode opens with a 6 years ago flashback where we see that Barb and Ron are deciding to leave their life behind and start a new life with their new dream jobs. Barb wants to create a breast pump that is portable and stylish, and Ron wants to start the Jeep tours that we've heard so much about in the last episode and then mentioned in the first episode. During this conversation, Ron also mentions his dad again as someone who helped people all the time, and I think that's a really core point of his character because it really feels like his need to have success and to do well and be like renowned is due to his father and, you know, what his father did, and that he's got this sense of, I need to be like my dad. However, what's funny about this and kind of sad is that this style of I need to be the best, I need to like be somebody, unfortunately hampers him as an individual because he then has like those moments where he's talking about how he doesn't want to take a back seat to somebody, or he's willing to do whatever he can in order to like succeed in what he wants to do, what his dream is. And that lately has been meaning putting his family in danger. And I'll be honest, this episode, it had some laughs, but this is the most, I think, serious and kind of sad episode we've gotten so far this season. And basically, in the present day timeline, Ron is now in protection mode because he really thinks that he set off the Tecca Chair Company people with his voicemail from the previous episode. So much so that he's got Mike sitting outside his house to make sure no one comes back. We still don't know who was in the hockey mask, rocking their head back and forth. And that guy went fast. I don't know how he went that fast. But it's presumed that it's Tecca messing with him now. And we see other ripples of this later on in the episode when he's getting calls at the office saying that he auditioned to be a model and sent in a bunch of headshots from a personal email account, which isn't his, and that he posted something on eBay about the Fab Four, like Beatles figures that this guy wanted to buy. And that whole bit was really funny to me, just the guy standing out there saying, I need to cool down. You want me to go crazy on your lawn? Another one of those little moments that of like, that's an I think you should leave character. And it feels like it works in this show, surprisingly. But this episode really just brought the confusion. It answered a couple questions, but it really just started giving us like, what is their method? What is Tecca doing to him? They're really just trying to, I think, mess with his psyche. And by the end of the episode, what we get to see, what he reveals that he thinks the plan is out there. It's wild. But also, I wouldn't be surprised if it was true. The thing is, his whole idea about the piece missing from the chairs and it allowing for a stick to go in there that's like an opioid ingredient is very interesting, but also that's where it gets sad because the first person he tells about any of this, aside from someone who's involved, like someone like Mike Santini, is Natalie, his daughter. And her reaction, part of me was watching it and I'm going, why don't I trust her all of a sudden? For some reason, I thought she was going to be like in league with Tecca or something. The reveal was going to be that, oh, let me take your phone, Dad, and I don't know what she was going to do. But now it just seems like they think he's having a mental break, or at least she thinks he's having a mental break, and she says that thing about how she loves him, she trusts him, and she's got him, which is then at that moment, that flashback where he's in the garage and he doesn't know what to do, and that's where it gets sad. I'm like, he's just a guy who like wanted to do something with his life, and he feels like he's squandering it. I really didn't expect a deep dive into his character like that. To me, this is a well-written show, but the fact that they went to a place like that where they got me feeling sad for him, and I already thought he was kind of a like, you know, damn, like, he just wants to be somebody, but he's having trouble. I'm still like, this flashback and watching his daughter's face be like, we gotta just let him get out of it. I don't know what that's suggesting. I'm curious if this whole thing is going to lead to him just realizing that it was all in his head and it was a delusion or a paranoia, but I don't know where it's going to go. I hope it doesn't really go down that route. I'd like it if it's just like an obstacle that they're setting up with his daughter who he trusts now. And I hope she kind of gets in on it. It would be nice to see him working with his family to figure this stuff out and see where it goes. And to see if his theory about the opioid smuggling is true. I think what this show does that's really smart is it gets the audience really involved in the conspiracy. Like, we, no matter what, we believe him from the rip. Like, we're seeing this stuff. I'm on Ron's side. I'm like, we got to see what's going on with the chair company and what they're doing and why this is all so weird and how it's all connected. And I think that if this does end up being one of those things where you're crazy, Ron. You were under a mass delusion because you broke after the Jeep tours failed. Like, he had just a terrible time. Like, he's going through a rough patch. If it turns out that it's just all in his head, it's going to be as devastating to me as an audience member as it will be to him to reveal that. And I think if they're going down that route, that's pretty smart writing on their part. However, this could also just be this man uncovered this crazy conspiracy, and he might actually be the hero by the end of this, which I would absolutely love. Because there's something about Ron's character that makes me root for him despite his flaws. And I think that's due to Tim Robinson's great performance. He takes those moments where he's being absurd and just counters them with moments where he's sincere and he can feel stuff. And because of the way Tim Robinson plays these scenes, the moment where he's telling Natalie about everything he's uncovered and we're finding it out for the first time too, is, I think, done so well on his part. When he gets misty because she tells him that she trusts him and that she's got him, he actually feels like finally he's got somebody who's helping him with his dream, like propping him up. Because you get that moment where earlier in the episode, they show the Jeep tour, the flashback to 5 years earlier, where he had an investor in the Jeep and he went too fast, the guy hit his head, and it just kind of, his dream crumbled. And he has that moment where he loses it. And he says that, like, no, I'm not doing this. The kids need to know that you can follow your dreams, you can chase your dreams, and still get it and achieve them. And I feel like that is the core of his character. Now, whether or not he wants to do it for selfish reasons, beside the point, but that is the core of who Ron is, and I think that's why the chair just set him off. I feel like the chair breaking was the straw that broke the camel's back, and it set him on a path of, I need to do whatever I can and get consumed into something, because if I don't, I'll just think about how I failed and how I ended up back at Fisher Row Bay and how my life didn't go the way I wanted. I feel like it's easy to write this show off as just, oh, that's an absurd comedy. That's the new Tim Robinson show. Yeah, it's funny. But I really am impressed with what they're doing with the character of Ron, with his family, and bringing in this like heightened realism to something that could seem very mundane, but giving me something to look forward to every week and a new mystery to uncover. And what's the deal with Bald Harmon, legendary plump-sized model? That's so funny to me when he finds him and he's like, this guy, I lost to this guy? It's just so weird. Like, it brings back that humor. But again, it's another thing that Ron lost. And there's something so weird about what Tecca's doing to him, assuming that this is Tecca behind everything. I don't know. This is it all's going to come down to who is like trying to ruin his life. Who is trying to get him to snap. And I feel like it may be revealed that it's not Tecca. It may be Douglas, who was giving him the stink eye. I can't unsee that photo from episode 1. I've watched that episode like 3 or 4 times now. And I'm wondering when that's going to come back around. Is that going to be the red herring? Is he Jim X? I've asked that in every single episode breakdown. Hopefully we get that answer soon. But we have more pressing matters to deal with, because at the end of this episode, he gets a call from Steven, who we met last episode, and he's got Ken Tucker. What that means, I assume it means he kidnapped him. I think this is a Cousin Eddie situation where he went out, he got the CEO of Tecca and this pharmaceutical company and the person that Ron believes is the one at the head of this opioid smuggling ring, and I don't know where that's going to go, but I can't imagine it's going to end well. If there's one thing the Chair Company is good at, it is keeping me hooked, waiting for the next Sunday, leaving me with a nice, delicious cliffhanger after every episode, and infusing that all with some laugh-out-loud moments. And I think this episode still did that, while still leaning on the drama of it, and going deeper into the kind of sad character that Ron is, and making me feel for him, despite some of his more selfish decisions. Also, special shout out to Sophia Lillis, because I thought she killed it. She has to anchor this episode. It ends on her face, and her acting, I think, really helps to just make this whole situation just sadder. That his daughter is seeing him like this, and it's reminding her of the rough patch he went through 5 years prior, and I think she does that all with just her face in this episode, and in addition to Tim Robinson and his performance, I think they both just really bring it up there. Did this episode give us any major answers? No, not on the surface, but I think what we do know now about Ron and his Jeep Tours business and his relationship with his wife and now his daughter, I think there's more to him than we really think about, and I can't wait to see where this unravels because you know something bad is coming. You know this is going to hit ahead in one of the next few episodes, and we only got 4 left, so we're halfway through. I will be here every Sunday covering this show as always. I hope you're enjoying these videos. I'm glad that people are watching them. I'm glad people are watching The Chair Company. It's nice to see that there are people out there who are like me and like absurd stuff that has heart to it. So I will see you next week for the next episode of The Chair Company, and we will break this down even further. Hopefully we get some answers, but hopefully it's just a fun episode like the rest of these have been.